Hi there guys, Reaper here, and today's video is going to be a bit of a guide to playing Darkest Dungeon. So for example, if you're playing the game but you're maybe struggling a bit, want a bit more sort of tips and tricks to sort of help you out, or you just generally maybe try and improve a bit your gameplay, give yourself a bit of an edge, hopefully I can impart a bit of wisdom and guidance to you in this video. So situation is kind of a hypothetical situation. You've just come back from a mission, and this is going to basically go through all the preparation I think you should do and all the advice I can give you on the preparation side when you've just come back from a mission, and then hopefully a bit of guidance when you're on the mission as well. I'm going to start out with the town bit purely because in a game like Darkest Dungeon, your preparation and your decisions that you make in the town and your preparation before you get on a mission is as important, if not arguably slightly more important, than the decisions you make on the mission. I think a lot of people underestimate the amount of decisions, forethought and sort of pre-planning that goes into a successful mission. There is luck involved, there is kind of statistics, and sometimes you will get screwed over by luck. However, this game is as much about giving yourself the edge in preparation before you go into a fight as when you actually get there. So I'm going to start with hopefully cover everything you need to know about what you need to do in the town before you get on the mission. So for example, just come back from this mission. First thing you'll need to do is sort out the guys that have just been out who are chances are going to be really stressed out. So if you look at your hero list on the right hand side here, if you click the sort by stress button, that's going to arrange your heroes in order of stress. So my level 1 guys were level 0, just sent them out, they've leveled up. And these guys are in a position where they're too stressed out, they need to be put on stress relief to sort themselves out before they go on the next mission. They're not going to be going out next, so we need to put them on stress relief. So next time, after the next mission, they're going to be ready to go. I'm just going to take them off the embark list here quickly. I'll show you why in a moment, but just take them off quickly there. So I would say these 3 guys, maybe, I'm going to probably butcher the default name pronunciation. I think it's Magnar, and I'm not going to try and pronounce that one. But my Houndmaster, my Vestal here, let's just put it that way. The stress is probably low enough. I could just let it tick down over time. 3 bars or less is probably okay. Anything higher than that, I think you need to put them on stress relief because they're not in a position where they can go out on another mission. So I've got 3 guys. First big mistake a lot of people make, when they do stress relief, they immediately just sort of go into either the tavern or the abbey. They go, whatever, just whack whoever on where, not even fussed. And that often leads to a critical mistake. Before you put anyone on stress relief, decide who is going to go. So these 3 guys who got too much stress to go on a mission, I've decided I'm going to put these top 3 guys, my Abomination, Man-at-Arms and Occultist, on stress relief. Before I put any of them anywhere, I need to take a look at their quirks. If you right click on any of them, we have got, you need to check their positive and negative quirks for how they're going to be affected by stress relief. So there are positive quirks, which make them reduce stress more significantly in certain areas or certain stress relief activities, and there are negative quirks, which means they can only go in certain areas or there are restrictions on what stress relief activities they can do. So a common mistake people make is they'll put someone on a bit of stress relief and then realise they've got a character that can only go on a certain type of stress relief, which you've already filled because you didn't check beforehand. So what you want to do, go on to your heroes, look at their quirks and decide, are there certain areas that I can't put them on stress relief, so I need to leave a slot free in a certain area, or certain areas that are better to put them on stress relief. So for example, Abomination is the first one. Doesn't have any positive quirks that makes him better anywhere, or any negative quirks, meaning he can't go on any certain stress relief. So I can put him pretty much anywhere I want. However, as his stress relief is higher, I probably want to put him on one of the lower down ones because they heal a bit more stress, unless I've upgraded one of the other ones a bit more. So he's okay to put pretty much anywhere. Man-at-Arms is enlightened, which means, as it says here, I can only meditate for stress relief. Thankfully I've got 2 slots free here because I've upgraded, but say for example I only had 1 slot, or the caretaker was putting up the first slot. If I immediately whack my Abomination on, as a lot of people tend to do, they just put it on, put there, I'll then find I couldn't put my Man-at-Arms anywhere. I then have to pay to take him off and I don't get the money back. So check beforehand where your guys can and can't go. So my Man-at-Arms can only pray for stress relief. Sorry, meditate for stress relief, beg your pardon. This guy's Demon Taster, we can't visit the brothel. However, that's the only restriction he's got, so he can go anywhere else. So not too big an issue. So I'm going to put my Man-at-Arms on meditation. Other thing to do before you put anyone anywhere, as you need to go onto your upgrade, decide whether or not beforehand you're going to upgrade someone. So for example, if I decide to upgrade the Transet with busts and crests, I can increase the number of slots. Or for example here, the Cloister, I can increase stress recovery. So before I put anyone on, decide whether or not you want to upgrade it. Don't put them on, then upgrade it. So you're going to get more value if you decide you can get cheaper stress reduction cost, or more effective stress relief, decide whether or not you want to upgrade before you put anyone on. In this case, I don't think we need to. So I'm going to put him on the meditation, because that's the only place he can go. These guys can go anywhere except for my cultist can't go in the brothel. Shouldn't be too big an issue. So I'm going to put this guy on flagellation. It's a bit more expensive, but he's got quite high stress. I want to try and get rid of all of it if I can, so I'm going to put him on the more expensive treatment. And let's put this guy in the bar again. So there's the caretaker who's going to put up one slot. So I could only put this guy on the bar here because he can't go in the brothel, and the caretaker's taking up the gambling hall. And we're going to upgrade this, increase the number of slots to 2. Don't need to do that at the moment, so I might as well save the money. I've already reduced the treatment cost, so I can just put him on the bar. So that's okay. So I've dealt with my stressed characters. It gives you a little marker where they are. So these two are stressed. They've been greyed out. These two are in the Abbey, and this one is drinking in the bar. So sort that out. Second thing we want to do is we want to go into our stagecoach, because after every mission, these 4 heroes get switched around. So if you don't, any ones you don't take, they're going to get replaced. So you need to decide what characters you want to take, if any at all. Stagecoach, good idea to keep this upgraded. It doesn't cost very much to upgrade your hero barracks. That's going to give you more options. There's no sort of upkeep cost or sort of penalty for having a lot of heroes. So all you're limited by is your maximum number. So you increase the maximum number. Every time a good hero crops up, put him on. There's no penalty for keeping a lot of heroes. That means if you lose maybe a good one, you've got one to replace him. And you can just keep a good variety of hero types up and kind of level them all up steadily. So you have a nice variety of heroes, and you can also cherry pick the good ones. So good idea just to upgrade the stagecoach. Get as many good heroes as you can. Doesn't mean you should upgrade and take every one you get, immediately fill it up. But it just means you can have a big variety of hero options, level them all up. If you lose some, it's not a big deal, or not as big a deal if you lose a hero and you've got a lot of guys to replace him. So this time, so all of these are going to start at level 0. You can also upgrade here so that you get more of them. So each time 4 are going to turn up. If I increase this, can't at the moment, it's going to be 5 guys, etc. So I've got 4 options here. All of these can be level 0. Already got a level 0 Crusader. Second thing you want to do, check their abilities, check their camping skills, and very importantly, check their quirks. So for example, this Crusader is shit. Plus 10% damage on range skills. Sucks, he hasn't really got any range skills. Wheeled Adventure is not too bad, minus 20 stress damage in wheels, quite nice, he'd be good in the wheel, however he's soft. Minus 5% max HP isn't good for a tanky character. And 10% less damage if the torch is above 75, which is where I always keep it, so this guy would be crap to take on. Not worth taking a slot for him. This Hellion, Claustrophobia and Compulsive aren't brilliant. Natural Swing's good, 5 accuracy for melee attacks. And how many Hellions have I got? I think might not have any at the moment, so I might actually take that Hellion on. I think my Hellion died last time, so I'm actually going to take that. I think I might take that Hellion on. The other one is Unyielding, 10% death blow resist. And bonus scouting and warrants is nice. And has got a not particularly bad negative quirk there. So I've got 2 options. So I've got Natural Swing over Unyielding. I'm actually going to take this one, I think. We've got to look at the skills as well. If it bleeds is nice. York, Wicked Hack. Neither of them have Iron Swan. So this one's actually quite a close call between these 2 Hellions, I think. I'm going to go... I've not actually got the same skills. I think I've got the same. I've got Adrenaline Rush here, but I prefer Barbaric York actually, so I'm just going to take this one. Could take both, but I don't really need 2 Hellions. These Tatum Noahs. I'm not really fussed about having a second Abomination at the moment, so I'm just going to leave this for now. So I've got no level 0 Hellion with some nice skills. So you always want to check the quirks and the skills they've got. Because if you want extra skills, you're going to have to pay to upgrade them, pay to unlock them. And these skills, you want to try and get as good ones as you can. There's no point taking on crap heroes. So, sorted out stress relief, and we have also sorted out any new heroes we want to get. Second thing, we want to click embark, and we want to decide who is going to go on the next mission. Now, there are a huge amount of factors which affect what mission you're going to go on and who is going to go on that mission. So, firstly, the mission types, you've probably worked this out already, but there are 3 different level types. So there's level 1 missions, which are apprentice. There's level 3, such as this one here in the Weald, which is veteran, so level 3 mission. And there are champions, which we haven't unlocked yet, which are level 5 missions. There's also the Darkest Dungeon, which is level 6. We're going to leave that out for now because that's kind of a different kettle of fish. So there's level 1, 3 and 5. If your hero is 2 levels higher than the level recommended level for that mission, they will refuse to go on it. So if I did a level 1 mission here in the Warrens, I couldn't send my level 3 guys out because they would just go, no, I'm above this, I'm not going out. However, you could send a level 2 guy out on a level 1 mission, or you could send a level 4 guy out on a level 3 mission. or a level 6 guy on a level 5 mission. So you do have the option of putting someone who's one level higher on a mission, but any more than that, you can't do it. It's not a bad thing, putting someone who's one level higher on a mission. It can often give you an edge just because they're generally a little bit better, just makes the mission a bit easier. It's not generally necessary. Level 1 guys are normally perfectly suitable for a level 1 mission. Only time I generally would make an active effort to do it is on boss missions. So for example, this one here is a level 1 kill Swine Prince, who is a boss. I would generally try, unless you're in real need of doing a mission in that area or doing that particular mission, for a boss mission I would generally try and wait to get a guy who's one level higher before you do anything. So for this level 1 mission, I would generally try and send level 2 guys out, because boss missions tend to be a step up from regular missions. They're quite a bit harder because you have to fight through all the guys, then kill a really hard boss at the end. So I would send level 2 guys out on a level 1 boss mission, or level 4 guys out on a level 3 boss mission if I can, just to take the difficulty edge off, just to give me a bit more of a step up, and you're less likely to lose a guy. So I just think that's the time when I would recommend sending out a high level guy on a mission. So you've got 4 different zones. You've got the Ruins, the Warrens, the Weald, and the Cove. And these are going to have an effect on what enemy types you're going to be facing and what they're susceptible or resistant to. So, for example, the Ruins is generally considered to be the easiest area. There's a lot of unholy enemies, which are completely immune to bleed. So any heroes you've got that are reliant on bleed attacks to do damage, they're not going to be of any use here. And they also have very low blight resist. So blight heavy heroes are useful in the Ruins. Second one's the Warrens, slightly harder, mainly human or beast types, predominantly beast. Some of them are hybrid of beast and humans. And they have high blight resist, so kind of a flip to the Ruins, but they do have a low bleed resist, so bleed characters good in the Warrens. Weald, also high blight resist here, a bit more of a mixed bag with enemies. There's not one particular enemy type you have to look out for or try and take down. It's a bit more of a mix. These guys also have a high blight resist in the Weald, but again they are quite susceptible to bleed attacks. Last area, excluding of course the Darkest Dungeon, which I said we're going to leave out for now, is the Cove. You've got Eldritch enemies here, almost entirely Eldritch enemies. Couple of divergent types, but mainly Eldritch. Really high bleed resist. They're not completely immune like the unholy guys in the Ruins, but they do have quite a high bleed resist. You can't really rely on bleed damage. However, again, like the unholy guys, they are weak to blight. They also have some quite high protection value enemies, and they have guard as well in a few cases. I'll explain those mechanics a bit later on. The Cove is generally considered to be the hardest probably out of the 4 areas, but at least in general terms. It varies from mission to mission, but generally considering, Cove is generally considered to be the hardest of the 4 sort of main areas. They also determine what heirloom you're going to get. So the heirlooms here in the bottom left corner, which I showed you earlier, that you can use to upgrade your areas. You've got busts, portraits, deeds, and crests, and these are going to correspond to the 4 markers here. So the Ruins, you're mainly going to be getting busts. So if I do a mission in the Ruins, the reward is going to be bust. That's the heirloom reward you're going to get. And as you go through the loot, heirlooms are mainly going to be bust. You can get the other types, but predominantly the mission reward is going to be busts. And the loot you find that are heirlooms is going to be bust as well. Warrens, it's going to be portraits. Weald, it's going to be deeds. And Cove, it's going to be crests. So that's another thing to bear in mind. That's also going to determine what mission you're going to go on. So if you want a particular type of resource to upgrade your kit, you're going to be generally want to try and go to that area with the corresponding type. Next thing to determine, some heroes have attacks or sort of primary attacks that are good against certain type of enemies. So for example, if I was going to the Ruins, I'd generally try, if it's possible, to get a Crusader in the party, because his main attack, which is Smite, does 15% bonus damage to unholy enemies. So he is quite useful there. Also useful in the Ruins is the Plague Doctor, because he has a lot of attacks that do blight damage, and skeletons have very low resistance to blight, so he's useful there. Again, so for example, in the Weald, the Plague Doctor would be less used because the Weald have got high blight resist, so maybe you want a bleed character, so for example the Houndmaster. His 2 main attacks do bleed damage, so he's quite useful in either the Warrens or the Weald. But he's not very useful in the Cove because they've got high bleed resist. However, the Occultist, his 2 main attacks do bonus damage to Eldritch enemies, so he's useful there. So just look at the hero types, look at their main attacks, and if they do bonus damage to certain enemy types, because it means they're going to be more useful in those areas. So Crusader's good in the Ruins, Plague Doctor's good in the Ruins, Houndmaster's good in the Warrens or the Weald, etc, etc. So just take a look beforehand, decide what hero is good in those areas. Another thing you need to look at is all the quirks that your guys have. So for example, I'm in need of deeds, so I'm going to do a mission in the Weald. It's got some deeds here. I can get some along the way. Nice big gold reward because it's a level 3 mission. And the Heaven's Hairpin is a nice trinket to get as well. That's another thing you need to decide is what quest rewards you're going to get. So I like this mission. It's got a nice rare item that I can give to my Hellion. It gives me reduced stress and more accuracy if the torch is above 75, which I really like for the Hellion. Make sure her big attacks hit. So that's a nice reward. So I'm going to do this level 3 wield mission. So I'm going to sort my guys by level. So I'm in the wield, which means I don't want anyone, so like the Plague Doctor who's got high blight attacks because they're quite resistant to blight. Don't have a level 3 Plague Doctor, but if I did, I would say he's probably not going to be as big a use in the wield as anyone else. So the wield enemy types, they're kind of a mixed bag, so there's no particular one I want to watch out for or try and take down. So I can be a bit more flexible in regards to that. So if I was going to the Cove, for example, almost all the enemies in the Cove are Eldritch. So if I had someone who had a fear of Eldritch, or was a fear, or took more damage in the Cove, I want to try and avoid taking them. So I've got 5 level 3 guys. So what you need to pick out, regardless of where you're going, is you want a variety of heroes that are going to be good in certain areas. You need to make sure you've got a guy who's good in slot 1, 2, 3 and 4, which means they've got enough abilities they can use in those slots, and that your party as a whole can do damage to all areas of the enemy. If you've got 4 guys who are good in their slots, but can only do damage, or most of their damage to, say, the guys in the front or the guys at the back, you're going to find things more difficult, because once you've killed those guys, you're going to struggle to kill the guys in certain areas. So you need to make sure you've got a variety of positional attacks. So, my Man at Arms, generally quite a good frontline guy. Now look at his quirks here. He's got Warren's Phobe, so he takes more stress than the Warrens, but we're not going to the Warrens, so that's not a problem. He has got Wheels Grandeur, which is very nice, which means he's got a bonus scouting chance in Wheels, so he's probably a very good guy to have in our front rank. So we need a second rank, so to bring up the rear, maybe. Our Barless is generally good at the back. Hasn't got any positive quirk that makes him particularly good in this area or against these enemy types. There's a few human enemies, might be a couple of unholy enemies, they'll be good against them, and nothing particular that makes them sort of fear a particular enemy type or fear the wield in any way. So I think they'll be a good option to have in the back. Annoyingly, they do have a disease, which means I wouldn't be able to cure that this time, but we're just going to live with that. Houndmaster. Nothing here that makes him particularly good in the wield, but again he's only got 1 negative quirk and it doesn't affect where he is, so we can take him along. He's also got some bleed attack, so he's going to be useful as well, so he is probably going to get those bleed off. And now we've got 2 options for our second rank guy. The Highwayman and the Bounty Hunter are both good in the second rank. Bounty Hunter, nothing particularly steps him out as a good option for the wield, but nothing particularly bad either. He has got Fear of Mankind, but there aren't a huge amount of human enemies. And if there are some human enemies, I can normally rely on these 2 guys to take them out for him. I could also take my Highwayman. Again here, nothing that makes him particularly good. He's got Ruins and an Unholy Slayer. And he's got nothing that makes him particularly bad in the wield or against wield type enemies. So I can take either guy here. I'm actually going to take the Bounty Hunter, and I'll explain another reason for this. This is quite a party I like taking. This is because Man at Arms is good up front, and I'm taking him now because he's good in the wield. These 3 guys all have abilities that mark the target. So Bounty Hunter has Mark for Death, Houndmaster has got Target Whistle, and the Sniper's got Sniper's Mark. Sorry, the Abalis has Sniper's Mark. All 3 of them also have attacks that do bonus damage against marked targets. Now they don't have to be the one that marks that target. So for example, my Bounty Hunter uses Mark for Death if he goes first on a particularly tough enemy or an enemy I need to get rid of quickly. I can mark it, and then either of these guys can use their attacks. So Sniper Shot, more damage against marked targets. Higher crit against marked targets. Houndmaster, Hound's Rush, more damage against marked targets and more damage against beasts as well, but that's kind of more situational. So I can get one of these 3 guys to mark a particularly tough target or a target I need to get rid of quickly, and either of these guys at the back can then step in and take those out. So for example, if there's a high protection enemy, I can drop the protection and mark them, then use either of my 2 guys here at the back who can attack pretty much anyone in the enemy party, apart from maybe the front guy for the Arbalist, take them out quickly. So any of them can mark a target, and then any of them can attack a target. Also very useful against bosses. If it's a boss fight, mark him. Then mark for 3 rounds. Just continue to attack him, do a bunch of bonus damage, and you can just take something down really quickly with these 3 guys. So these 3 guys gel really well together. None of them are particularly bad in the wield, and they've got some bleed attacks as well, which is quite nice. So I think this is a really nice party. Also need to keep an eye on camping skills, because we're camping, because it's going to be camping once because it's a medium level quest, so we need to make sure we've got a good variety of camping skills. So camping skills generally fall into 3 different categories. You've got healing, stress relief and buffs. So my Arbalist He's got some really nice healing abilities. He's got wound care as standard, field dressing, really nice single target heal, and triage, which I think is arguably overpowered. 35% heal on all your companions, including you, I think. So that's only cost 3 time. That's really useful as a healing skill if I'm low on health. Houndmaster's got a therapy dog, which is a nice little stress reduction thing. And it's also got Hound's Watch, which prevents a nighttime ambush. If you camp, you can be ambushed, which is very bad. So it's also nice having at least one of your characters with an ability that prevents a nighttime ambush. So you can fulfill that role. Bounty Hunter's got some really nice buffs. Bonus chance to surprise enemy monsters and reduce your guys being surprised. I'll show you how that works if you don't already know in a moment, but that's a really nice ability. This is kind of my buffy guy. And the Man at Arms has got some really nice buffs as well, so we can give my guys bonus dodge and crit, bonus dodge and speed, and he's got wound care as well. So these guys gel really well together, got a nice frontline tank. These guys are good in their positions. The Houndmaster and the Abalis can hit pretty much any one of the enemy ranks, so I've got good sort of target damage. I can target pretty much anyone in the enemy rank quite effectively, and I got a really nice set of camping skills. So I think this is a very good setup for this mission. Now, I don't want to hit provision yet. We need to go back and we need to do a bit more caretaking. So if I hit back, it's very healthy. The game actually kind of subtly suggests that you should be doing this. It gives you this sort of little red marker on the 4 guys that you take out. So they've all been marked. These are the 4 guys I'm taking out on that mission. Before you take them out, you need to go visit the guild and the blacksmith and decide if you need to upgrade their gear. What it might be tempting to do is, as soon as a guy levels up, it might be tempting to immediately upgrade their kit. As if, so say for example, if you think you might forget it. A better idea is actually to wait, because if you have some guys come back for a mission, you generally need to put them on stress relief, or they're probably not going to be going out on the next mission anyway. So when they come back, it might be tempting to simply immediately upgrade their skills and their gear so they're ready. However, they're generally not going to be going out on the next mission. Upgrading stuff can get quite expensive, so it's generally not a good idea to upgrade your guys immediately if they're not going out on the next mission, because the guys you do need to send out next who might need an upgrade, you might have burnt all your money. So don't upgrade until that character is going to go out on a mission. So I'm sending my level 3 guys out, so I'm going to go to the guild and just check, do they need any upgrades? So I think I've already upgraded these guys to the point anyway. Again, before you decide to do anything, just decide if you're going to upgrade these, so I could reduce the cost of doing stuff if I wanted to burn that before I upgraded anything. Don't think I need to at the moment. So my Abalis has got pretty much full skills and all the stuff he uses. I'll upgrade Bowler, because I've got that as an active skill as well. Houndmaster's fully upgraded. I'm going to upgrade Crush, just in case I need to use it. And my Bounty Hunter is pretty much fully upgraded on all the skills he uses. I've got Finish him, but I don't tend to use it much, so I think I'm going to save the money here. So basically, just make sure, before you go out, make sure all the skills are upgraded fully, and don't just immediately upgrade them when they come back in, because it's going to be very expensive. Not so much in the guild, but the blacksmith. When you upgrade their stuff, it's going to be very, very expensive. If you upgrade them as soon as they come back, you're going to burn all your money, and your party that does need to go on the next mission, you might not have the money to upgrade them, and then could get killed. So don't upgrade until you're going out on a mission. Abalis has been fully upgraded. Unfortunately, I can't upgrade the blacksmith anymore, so I can't get rank 3 gear. Got to make sure as well, this is why I'm going on a deeds mission, because I want to try and, I've got level 3 guys, I want to make sure they've got level 3 gear. So I want to try and get some deeds in the bank, so next time I go out I can upgrade the blacksmith so I can have some high level gear on my high level characters. So he's fully upgraded, and they're all fully upgraded to the point they can be at level 3 with the level of the blacksmith I've got, so they're ready to go. Next thing you want to do is trinkets. Now, every time you choose your trinkets, you want to click unequip all trinkets, which is this sort of circular button here. You don't want to be in the habit of locking trinkets to specific heroes and not using them for anyone else. What trinkets you're going to be using are going to determine what mission you're going on. What trinkets you're going to use are going to be dependent on what mission you're going on, what area you're in, and what trinkets are going to be best for that character. There's no penalty for equipping or unequipping a trinket. So if you use your trinkets for one mission, unequip them all, and then put them on the next party that are going to go out. Make sure you have all your options open. You don't lose anything by unequipping trinkets, but you do lose something by forgetting to unequip them all and then having stuff that would be useful in your next mission equipped to characters who aren't even going out. So unequip all your trinkets. So let's think what's going to be good on our characters. So he's going to be at the front and he's going to be our tank, so I've got to decide what might be good on him. I tend to find his speed isn't that high anyway, and 10% max health, because his health is quite high to begin with. I think 10% is quite a good thing to have. Now let's think what we could be facing. You also get, say, trinkets against certain enemy types. Because we've got a variety in the wield, this isn't as important. So, for example, if I was in the Cove, I'd want the Eldritch Slayer's Ring on my bar list because it goes 25% extra damage, and pretty much everyone in the Cove is Eldritch, so that's a good idea there. So I've got nothing in particular. I might just give him the Hero's Ring, just gives him more chance of virtue, so if his stress goes too high, he might be quite good there. So that's what I'm going to give for him, so you can have 2 for each character. There's no negative having this one, so that's kind of a good all-round one to have. Second rank's the Bounty Hunter. I think I haven't got any move skills active on the Bounty Hunter, so I can avoid the penalty here, but I can give him 20% bonus damage, which is nice. And I've got to think what else I'm going to have here. Don't want to lose too much dodge. He's not too bad in the back rank, so I'll just give him +2 speed. No negative for that one, so that's okay. Houndmaster, 20% debuff, minus 20% debuff for resist, but dodge and speed's quite nice on him, so we'll give him that. Not too worried about debuffs. They're kind of the... I wouldn't use a trinket slot to avoid debuffs, so that's not too big an issue. What else can we have? 20% bleed skill chance is good because he's got a lot of bleed attacks, so just make sure we get those off, so that's good for him. Bar list, accuracy on ranged attacks, that's pretty much perfect. And what else should we have on you? Dodge is only 3 because we've lowered it, so I might as well go the whole hog, give her 10% bonus damage and just not rely on dodge with her. So we've cherry picked what trinkets we want. We've sorted the stress release out. We've gone to the stagecoach, so we've picked our heroes. We've made sure the heroes that are going out, not just when they level up, we've made sure the ones that are going out have fully upgraded gear for the mission. So I think we've made a lot of good decisions. I think a lot of people who don't plan a lot realise just how much planning can go in and preparation can go into making sure you have a successful mission. There's a lot of things people miss out. A lot of people would just go, right, let's go on that mission, we'll pick guys at the right level, they're reasonably good in those slots, send them out. Not what you want to do. There's a lot of planning goes. There's so many things that can give you the edge before you go out to a fight. So I think we've made all those. So let's provision for these guys. So we're camping once, we get some firewood. We've got 2 dog treats, which are good for the Houndmaster. You get those as standard every time you take the Houndmaster out. So if you're in a particularly tough fight, you can use one of those and he's going to do a bit more damage. And we've got some bandages because we brought the Arbalist along. Certain characters, if you bring them along, will give you a free certain type of item. So for example, if I brought a Plague Doctor, I'd get a free anti-venom, I think it is. So, food is used when you're going along. Sometimes you'll get a pop-up says that your characters have gone hungry. If you have 4 food, you can choose to eat it and regain a small amount of health on each of your characters. You can then either deliberately choose to starve, or if you don't have any food, you have to starve. And that's going to mean you're going to take some stress damage and some regular damage as well. When you come to camp, the more food you use when you camp, the more health you get and potentially stress relief you get. So food's really useful. And if none of those things really happen, if you're getting towards the end of the mission, your guys are a bit wounded, you can burn your excess food and just heal up. So effectively you're paying for health and stress relief. So every time, if you're camping, get every single piece of food you can get. It's a little bit more expensive, but it's not too expensive for food. It will pay dividends in dodgy situations when you come to camp to get the stress relief, to get the healing, and to stop yourself starving. Always get, if you're camping, much food as you physically can. So it's 24 for a medium mission, which is what this one is. And I believe it's 36 for a long mission. So that's what you want to get. Shovels for a medium mission, I'm going to take 3 of these. I will take at least 2, but I prefer to be a little bit more prepared. Shovels can be used when interacting with certain objects. If you interact with obstacles, you will either have to burn a shovel, or you'll have to clear the obstacle by hand, which is going to take stress and health damage, which we want to avoid. So I'm going to take some shovels. 250 gold is nothing when you see how much stress damage you take from trying to clear an obstacle with your hands. It's really a bad idea. We're going in the wield, so a few blight attacks. I'll bring an anti-venom. Got a bandage, we'll take a second one just in case. Medicinal herbs are useful here. Skeleton's keys are 200. They're used for cabinets or heirloom chests that are locked. You can use these, interact with them. They're going to give you bonus loot from that chest, and they're going to disarm any. If the chest is trapped, it's going to stop you setting the trap off and hurting your characters. So 200 is a fraction of the bonus loot you get when you come to use these. So I'll take at least 2. And these things, I would never leave home without skeleton keys. They're incredibly useful, 200 gold, but when you use them you tend to get huge amounts of bonus loot and you avoid traps. Torches. Medium mission, I would take at least 16 of these. You want to keep the light, I would recommend, at highest point at all times. So I would take 16 torches. For a short mission you can get away with 8. I'd normally take 10 just to be on the safer side. 150 gold for 2 more torches isn't much. On a long mission I would probably take 20 just to play it safe. Generally, the rule of thumb when provisioning is you're far better off. You get a small amount, if you've got excess stuff at the end of the mission, you get a little bit of gold back for it, you get a fraction of what you paid for it. However, it's generally far better to be overly prepared than underprepared. If you go on a mission with lacking food, shovels and torches, you're going to seriously regret, if you're in a dodgy situation, not bringing enough food to heal your characters or to camp with, not bringing enough shovels to clear the way, and not bringing enough torches to keep the light high enough. So that's the last bit of preparation we need to do, so we're going to embark. So I'm just going to have a brief cut and we'll go into the combat side of the game. So one moment. Okay, so we've just started out in the mission. So a few things I should go over before I do anything. Firstly, it explains the mechanic of you are under no time limit when you're doing things in Darkest Dungeon, either while you're in the corridors moving around or when you get into combat. You do not have a certain amount of time to do your attacks and make your decisions. You have as much time as you want while it's your go to make your decisions, which is also useful for this video, as it gives me time to explain everything I need to do. So, first thing to bear in mind is keep in mind your objective of the mission. Your mission isn't necessarily go to every single room or win every single fight. So for example, this one's a bit different. It's gather 3 medicines. Once I've gathered those medicines, I can leave immediately. I don't then have to go kill everyone else in the dungeon. Generally, a lot of the missions are generally stuff like complete 100% of room battles. If you're lucky enough, if you keep your torch high and you manage to scout the area out, you can sometimes determine that there's, say for example, along the corridor there's a fight midway down the corridor but there's nothing at the end of it. If that's the last room on the end of that corridor, you can decide, hang on, I need to complete 100% of room battles. There's a battle in that corridor but there isn't one in the room at that end. So I know I don't have to go to the room at the end to complete the mission, and there's a fight midway down the corridor which I don't need to complete either. So you can avoid things just by bearing in mind what kind of mission you've got. Again, some of them say scout 90% of rooms. If you're going down the corridor, at the end of the corridor you know there's a room battle because you scouted it out. There's a battle in the room at the end of the corridor. You think, well, hang on, I've only have to explore 90% of rooms. That means in every single situation there's at least one room that you don't have to explore. So you can think, hang on, there's a room battle there, but I don't have to explore that room. I can just explore every other room. Then I'm guaranteed to avoid at least one battle there. So I can just avoid that room. I can choose to avoid at least one anyway. So I'll avoid that one. Therefore I can avoid that one battle. You just kind of, everything you do gives yourself an edge in this game. So just keep your objective in mind. You don't necessarily have to do every single fight, go down every single corridor. Keep it in mind, you can keep yourself alive. Second thing I'll determine, anything interactable. It's generally a good rule of thumb to, unless you have the item that you can use to interact with that object to guarantee a positive result, it's generally a good idea unless you're in a situation where, in fact, well, it's generally just a bad idea unless you've got the right item to interact with that thing to guarantee yourself the positive result. Don't bother doing it. It's generally just not worth the risk. Some of the negative results are really bad. It can work out in your favour, sometimes being risky. However, the game, as I said, is all about reducing your risk, trying to give yourself the best odds. Unless you've got the thing you know you need to interact with that object, don't bother doing it. So I can't remember off the top of my head which one I need to do here. If I wanted to, this is entirely kind of a personal decision. You can go on the wiki and determine, right, this is a mummified remains. What item do I need to interact with this object to guarantee a good result? There's normally at least one item for every single interactable thing in the game, so you can look it up or you can learn by experience. I could look this up, but kind of for the purposes of this video it's not really practical for me to look this up now. So what I'm going to do, because I don't know, I can't remember what I need, I'm just going to leave it and just continue down the corridor. So fortunately hit a trap there, managed to dodge it. So other thing I need to explain is the light mechanic. So if I go into this next room, I'll go into this room here. The light determines several things. Firstly, it's going to determine the chance of you surprising the enemy or being surprised. It's going to increase your scouting chance, and it's going to increase, potentially if it's too low, it's going to increase your stress damage. It's going to increase the chance of critting for both you and your enemy, and if the light's really low you can get a chance of getting bonus loot, so it's kind of a risk reward thing. Most people generally decide, including myself, keep the light always above 75. There are some players who prefer to take the riskier option, which can get you more loot, of kind of snuffing the torch out, but mainly people do this as a veteran players kind of do this as a way to challenge themselves when they want to play kind of a, when they say they've completed the game, they go, okay, I'm going to take a harder, more difficult approach, more challenging approach. It's kind of just as a little challenge thing. Generally, always keep your torch above 75. If you know there's a fight in a corridor, if you scout it out a corridor, and you know there's a fight in that corridor, keep your torch above 75 if you go into that fight. If you know there's a fight, or even if you don't know there's a fight, there could be a fight in this room. If I do know, or even if I don't know, keep the torch above 75. So when you go into this room, you've got a maximum chance of surprising your enemy. You're going to take lower stress damage, and when you complete the fight, you've got a higher chance of scouting out the corridors, which allows you to avoid fights. So whenever you go into a room, or if you know there's a fight coming up in that corridor, you've scouted it out, there's a fight halfway down the corridor, make sure your light is above 75 when you go into it. So a light, radiant light, 94. Thankfully no enemies here, and we found our first thing. Hopefully we can scout. We don't this time, unfortunately, so we're going to have to keep moving and do it the hard way. Basically what happened... there we go. And we managed to get the surprise because our light was high. If you surprise the enemy, all your guys get to attack first automatically, which means you can kill enemies before they can do anything, which is a really nice big bonus. If your light's really low, the enemy has a much higher chance of surprising you, which means they're going to go first and your whole party gets completely scattered out of order. So that's not a good thing to have. Now, so here's our first fight. If you mouse over an enemy, again, like I said, you've got no time limit, you're not in any time pressures about what you want to do. If you're not sure, stop, look at your enemies, think about what you want to do. If you look over, you can see that enemy type, so a Slavering Ghoul, it's got 42 health, it's got 40% prot, it's an unholy type, it's got dodge, speed, and you can see its resistance is there. So it's got quite high stun resist, so I'm probably not going to bother trying to stun it. It's got fairly high bleed and blight resist, and it's got really high move resist. So, prot basically means it's going to take 40% less damage from standard attack. So my regular attack, say it did 10 damage, it's only going to do 6 damage because it's got 40% damage resist to flat attacks. What this doesn't affect is bleed and blight effects. This is why you want to try and bring, not necessarily blight in the weird because they're resistant to it, however you want to try and bring a status effect that is good in that area, which is why I've got the Houndmaster for the bleed, because prot doesn't affect bleed or blight damage. So I'll do reduced damage with Hound's Rush because he's got prot, however the bleed is still going to do full damage. So when you come across enemies with prot, you need to make sure you've got guys who can do status damage, which is going to make it easy to take these guys out. So he's starting out. I could do my bleed attack. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to use Target Whistle because it's going to reduce his prot by 25% and it's going to mark him for my other two guys. So I'm going to mark him up. Now what I'm going to do with my guy here is I'm going to activate Retribution, which is a really nice ability. It does low damage, also activates my riposte, so if he takes an attack, he automatically counterattacks everything. Excuse me. Going to do Collect Bounty on this guy, because he's marked, so I'm doing a bunch of extra bonus damage. And again, because this guy's marked, do loads of extra damage with my Arbalist. And unfortunately took the crit there. A lot of damage with that crit actually, unfortunately, nothing we can do. And going for the stress attack. So unfortunately took the crit damage there, nothing we can do. The light was the highest it was, so the lower the light is, the higher chance your enemies and you have of critting. But unfortunately we had a high light, but still got critted anyway. Target's still marked, and it's going to be marked for 2 rounds, but now all my guys can do their big attacks. Unfortunately managed to dodge that one. Going for the stress again. Really not going very well at the moment. This is why we keep the light high. If the light was low there, he'd probably be at 100, which is really not what we want. So I'm going to take him out quick, which is nice. Now, corpse is going to be left behind. Every time you kill an enemy, unless it's with a damage over time effect, they're going to leave a corpse behind, and it's going to take up the same amount of space that they took. So, we now want to make sure we can take out this guy as quickly as we can. I could mark them so the next time the Houndmaster attacks, he could do his bonus damage, but the health is probably low enough. I can just do a regular attack. And take her out. Maybe hit them with a crush, that should finish them. And we got a crit, which is going to reduce our stress, which is nice. So, because we all got to go first because of the surprise there, that was really nice. Unfortunately, we took the crit on our Houndmaster, which is why we want to keep the light high, because we want to try and avoid those at all costs. Again, I can't remember what I need for that. However, I already have found my second medicine. So if we're able to find the third one quickly, we can maybe end this mission. We don't have to go down too many corridors. If it's on one of these 3 rooms, we can just avoid all this. Make sure we've got maximum light. No fight in this room, but we did get the scout. So this is what we're talking about. On this corridor to the next room, there's a fight midway. And there's a room battle with treasure in that end room. So for example, if I was doing a scouting mission where I didn't have to visit every single room. Say this was a bigger map and I had enough rooms. If I had to, say there were 18 rooms, I've got to visit 90%. Means I don't have to visit 2 rooms. So if there were 18 rooms on this map, if I only had to scout 90% of them, I could go, hang on, I know there's a fight up here. And there's a fight along the way, so I can just avoid these 2 rooms, avoid a bunch of fights, and make things easier for myself. Unfortunately, because the medicine we need might be in one of these 2 rooms, we're going to have to go down the end. We can collect this torch, no risk here. I think I'm actually going to eat a small amount of food on this guy, just because I bought quite a lot. I bought it for this reason, so I can just keep a guy healed. So I'm just going to make sure I've got enough. Need at least 8 for camp, and I can save some just in case my party go hungry. Maximum light. Did manage to surprise the enemy. These guys' health isn't too high, might be able to take them out quickly. I think I'm just going to try and burn these guys down as quickly as possible. Just might do enough damage. Managed to get the crit, and I got the counter attack up. And right, this guy's a beast. Bonus damage to beast. So, didn't quite kill him, but got the bleed on him, did some damage. And there's the counter attack. Always useful. Generally, the fights getting corridors aren't as tough as the ones you get in actual fights. That was a mistake. Get a counter attack. Unfortunately, we picked up a disease. We've got rabies, which is actually considered by many to be kind of a bonus. You get less accuracy but more damage, although it is on the our man at arms whose damage isn't actually that high. But anyway, make sure we've got maximum light going into a room. We know there's a fight in here. High chance of surprise. Didn't manage to surprise. So, generally speaking, the stress attack guys and often the high damage guys are in the back of the pack. The guys at the front generally have higher protection. They can take a bit more of a hit, but often they can only attack your front guys who are a bit more tanky. Well, if you've planned correctly. So generally speaking, you want to take out the guys at the back probably quicker than the guys at the front because they've got high prot, they take longer to take down, and the guys at the back are going to stress your characters out. They're going to do long range AoE damage. You need to take them out quick. So I'm going to use Retribution, just do a little bit of damage on him, and get my riposte up as quick as I can. I'm going to mark one of these guys here to reduce their prot, and mark them up. These guys got low bleed, well, reasonably low bleed attacks, and I've got my bleed stone for higher bleed, so I'm going to go for Hound's Harry on all of them. Managed to get a crit on the back, reduce some stress, and I got bleeds on all of them, which is really nice. And because I've marked the enemy, shoot him up. Didn't quite manage to kill him. However, any bleed or blight attack, oh, took a lot there actually. There we are. You take bleed damage and blight damage before you get to attack. So thankfully we did enough damage on him and we got the bleed, so he bled out before he was able to attack. So any bleed or blight damage you've got on you, you take the damage before you get to attack. So it might kill you before you actually get the chance to hit someone. Now, minus 25% prot. We can soften him up for the Arbalist, just take him out hopefully in one shot. Now I can't collect bounty on him, but I could let's set this one up ready for attack next, reduce his prot. Hopefully the sniper's next. Now I've got the riposte up. What I'm going to do is use Defender on, let's use it on the Bounty Hunter. So basically any attack that's directed, again this is my guard attack that I was talking about, any attack that's directed directly onto him is going to be redirected onto my man-at-arms who's a bit tankier, so I can keep him protected. I've got the riposte as well, so it's a good combo. Any attack that goes on a Bounty Hunter is now going to go on the man-at-arms, and I'm going to get to counter-attack as well. So this guy's really good at the front, high health, and he can protect any particular target that you need to. So managed to do the 16 damage thanks to that mark. So he's going for him, it's going to redirect onto the man-at-arms. Unfortunately I took a crit, but I did a crit as well. Again, redirect on him, get the counter-attack. So these guys can only generally attack the front rank, so I know who I need to protect. Still got a marked target. These guys gel really well. And he's going to bleed out before he gets to attack, so this fight's going pretty well. Again, amount of time taking a bit of a hit now though. Could heal myself. This guy I already know is going to die to that bleed effect. Once you've been bleeded, you can't resist it. So let's just wound this guy, get some bleed on him as well. What should we do with this guy? Let's just do a blind fire, hopefully hit with the front. Random target, fortunately we hit the back. And hopefully we do enough damage. Nope, we don't. So then we're going to take one more hit. Oh no, we're not. Maybe not. There, we took him out. Very good. So we're taking a bit of damage. Ooh, what was Book of Rage. So we've got some items that we can sell. Unfortunately, inventory is full, so we've got to now decide what we want to take. It's one of those missions, unfortunately, because you need to take the 3 medicines, you're a bit more limited on space. I'm actually going to take a bit of a risk and get rid of these two. I'm going to take the deeds, which I really need. Now, heirloom chest, this is where we brought our skeleton keys for. Use that, guarantees more loot, and we get to avoid taking a trap damage. They're not worth too much. Let's get some more deeds. And do we really need all this food? Should we eat it? I'm going to camp, I think, fairly soon, so we'll use the firewood. Oh, I don't know what's that. Let's scrap the bandages. Let's go the risky route and scrap the bandages. So, because we scouted this corridor, we know there's a trap on the way. Unfortunately, this guy has got a negative quirk, which means he's going to try and open this. Thankfully, it wasn't. Thankfully, it wasn't trapped. Basically, if you have a negative quirk, you won't get the chance to use a certain item. So, for example, that chest was locked. I could have used a skeleton key if I'd opened it, but because he's got a negative quirk, which is Hylomania, he's automatically going to try and open it, and he's not going to be able to have a chance to use any item on it. So, a bit riskier because of that negative quirk. Unfortunately, you can't account for everything. There are going to be some things that screw you over. Right. Trap disarm. You want to try and bring a character that's got high trap disarm. You can find that here. It's going to be higher based on their level. And you're going to get certain characters just going to be better at disarming traps. So grave robbers and highwaymen are really good. Bounty hunters are quite good. You need to make sure when you come to a trap that you've scouted, see who's got the best. Make sure you select them. You've got the little select icon and that they can disarm it. So it's going to reduce some stress as well. Arguably I should have picked him to do it. Maybe taking the risk and reduce some stress. If you scout a trap, it can often work in your favour actually. There's no fight at the end of this corridor. So we're going to walk all the way back. I'm just going to have a brief cut now just to kind of skip this bit. It's just going to be corridor wandering. Okay, so we're back where we kind of decided to go up instead of down. Unfortunately, this guy's going to try and open this again. And it's trapped. So he's got a blight effect, and I've just chucked my anti-venom so I can't even cure him, so he's going to take some damage. This is why I bring the skeleton keys. If I didn't have that negative card, I could have opened it, used a key, disarmed the trap, and got more loot, which is why we take skeleton keys. Now, thankfully we've managed to scout, thanks to our high light and our bonus scouting chance that we took into account earlier. We found this trap. This guy's got 110% disarm, so I actually misread this. I should have disarmed the other trap with this guy earlier. I can pretty much guarantee disarm that trap, reduces stress. So if you scout a trap, you can actually kind of turn it to your advantage. Instead of actually taking it, you can disarm it and reduce some stress. Now, I'm going to eat a bit of food just before I go into this fight with this guy. Going to leave 4 alive just to try and make sure he doesn't die if there's a fight in here. I think I might camp soon as well. No fight. I'll probably go for one more combat and then I'll camp. Medicinal herbs I think was that one, but we've unfortunately used those. So as I didn't have maximum light unfortunately, but we managed to surprise them anyway. So in this case we kill these guys as quick as humanly possible. So again, you got unlimited time. These guys, if I look here, they've got really high resistances to a lot of sort of blight, bleed, stun attacks. So basically, quickest way is just kill them. No point going for sort of certain types of attacks, just kill them as quick as you can. I've surprised them. Just burn them down as quick as possible, no point trying to go for specific attacks. Hate when they attack twice in a row, thankfully I dodged it. So he's just hook and slice because I'm out of range. And resisted the bleed annoyingly. Got a bit of dodge on that one. Not a whole lot we can do about it. And let's go for the crush attack. Take her out, thankfully. Unfortunately, you have to be in a room to use the firewood, so I'm just going to make sure you've got maximum light. No enemies in here, so we're going to camp now. So this is where the camping skills I talked about earlier are going to come into effect. So, if you had no food, you've got to take stress damage and health damage. And you don't get the option of not doing anything, so if I had half, I burn 2 food, nothing either way. If I use 4 food, I get 10% health and no stress reduction. If I use feast, which is 8 food, which is what I'm going to do, which is why we bought so many food earlier, and we had a bit to burn. 25% stress heal, sorry, 10% stress heal and 25% health. Huge chunk, really nice ability, just helps us out. This is why you bring food. So what I'm going to do first of all, I actually managed to heal a bit out of that, however I wanted to reduce the stress as well, which is why I bring so much food. I think I'm going to use triads because it's only 3. Heal these guys pretty much to full health. Now we need to reduce his stress a bit. So the Houndmaster, I'm going to put him on Hound's Watch, which is going to prevent any ambush. And then I think I'm going to use Therapy Dog, which is nice. So let's go for Hound's Watch. So I've got more chance of surprising the enemy, which you saw was very useful, and less chance of me being surprised. And I can't be ambushed at night. Unfortunately, I haven't got any sort of real big single target stress relief, so slightly lacking in that area maybe, but Therapy Dog's only 3, let's use that, just takes the edge off his stress. And what else should we use? Let's just use tracking then, because there's no point trying to heal anyone, just because there's a bit of an edge on trying to sort of surprise the enemy, because surprising the enemy gives you a free round of attacks, very useful. Got a bit more space on our inventory, and now we rest. So if I didn't use the prevent ambush, there's a chance when you get ambushed in the night, there'll be 0 light and you get attacked by a bunch of enemies, you automatically get surprised. So preventing an ambush at night is another thing you want to take into account. If you're going to camp, try and have at least one guy that can prevent a nighttime ambush. So in this case we're fine. So let's see if we can find, again I'm going to avoid this, I think it's holy water for this one which we don't have. So I'm just going to avoid it. If you don't have the right item, don't bother interacting with stuff. Again, it's kind of a personal decision. If you want to look up on the wiki what the thing is, you can. If you don't, you want to try and learn the hard way, learn by trial and error, that's entirely a personal decision. So I'm going to avoid that. First obstacle, this is why I bring the shovels. So if I did it by hand, you take a load of stress damage and health damage, which we don't want to do, so I'm going to pay a bit of money to get a shovel. And let's see if we can get to the end of this. Still no fights, only a few corridors left, hopefully this is going pretty well. Second shovel, unfortunately you get a few of these in the wields. I tend to bring 3 for the wields area. And again, this is the hunger thing I was talking about, so we bought enough food. If I didn't, we take 20% damage, which is a lot, and stress. So we have enough food, we eat 4, getting a small amount of health. But it's mainly about not taking that health and stress damage. Food is vitally important. Even if you aren't forced to use it, I've surprised the enemy again with the light, pre-planning. Even if you don't have to use the food in those situations, you can always use it just to heal you guys up. So if you don't end up, if you end up not needing to use it, you're fine. If you do, you've got it. So let's try and take out these back guys. So let's mark this guy for death. Use his prop. Master, let's go for the AoE bleed. Now it's got bleed on everyone thanks to our trinket. Let's take a bit more damage on him and get our counter attack up, and then we can guard one of our guys next time. And hopefully we can take this guy out. Low damage. Bit unlucky there. Not doing the damage. I got a dodge and a counter attack there, which is nice, and the bleed will kill him next time before he gets to attack. unfortunately, because I got the counter attack, I've also marked myself. So he does have a ability that does more damage against marked enemies. But unfortunately, nothing I can really do about that. I think it's still worth doing. No corpse for that one because they die to a damage over time attack. So let's collect the bounty. Marked enemy. Should have enough damage to kill him anyway, but he dodged. How are you still attacking me? Why aren't you dead? Alright, let's try this again. There we go, got the crit. Reduce the stress, which is good for him. Let's just go for the crush. And dodged again, of course he did. I hate these things. Alright, will you die? I think it might just be enough damage to kill him. I think we'll play it safe, we'll just try and kill him anyway. There we go. So these guys don't actually do that much damage. Let's give him a target whistle, let's reduce his prots. Might as well just try and burn him down actually. Which you can't sniper shot the front rank. Managed to kill him anyway. So, take a bit more stuff. Got a bit more food there as well. So this is going pretty well. The reason, I'll just explain now as we're moving. The reason you keep the light up. There is some merit to using the riskier option. Basically, there are two camps when it comes to light. There's the keep it above 75 at all times, which means you're going to more likely to surprise the enemy, you take less stress damage, or you snuff it out completely, which gives you bonus crit chance, and also means you get more loot at the end of the mission as well. So it's kind of a high risky, but you get more loot at the end of it kind of trade-off. However, several problems with this. If you completely snuff the torch out, what happens is the enemies, as well as getting higher crit chance, they get more damage and you take more stress. Also has a bigger chance of you being surprised as opposed to if you have high light surprising the enemy. So, for example, say you have no torchlight, you go into a room, there's an enemy's there. You've got a high chance of being surprised. If you get surprised, your enemy's going first automatically, and your whole party gets scattered around, so they're all generally in the wrong positions. On top of that, the enemy goes first, they attack you for more damage, and they've got a high chance of critting you. If they crit you, you're going to take a lot more damage, and you have to wait until they've all finished before you can attack. And because the light's really low, you're taking more stress. When you take a crit, you also take stress damage. So basically the enemy goes first a lot of the time, your party gets scattered around, they do more damage, they've got more chance to crit you, and if they do crit you, you take a bunch more damage, and because the light's low you take more stress damage, which is what happens when you take crit. So basically, when it works, it can work, you can get more loot. When it doesn't work, it's a recipe for disaster. So generally a good idea, unless you're a complete expert at the game, which I'm not, most people aren't, or you're just doing it for a laugh, keep the light really high. So just make sure it's every time you go into a room or you know there's a fight in the corridor above 75. We found the last satchel that we need. Did manage to surprise the enemy. These guys don't have particularly high health, so we don't really need to mark the targets. I think we're just going to try and kill them as quickly as can. These guys also don't leave corpses. Let's just smash all their heads in. This shouldn't take too long. No, he dodged. That probably would have killed him actually as well, because that's a beast attack. These guys are beasts. Again, if you're in a combat, you're not entirely sure about the enemies, take your time. You're in no rush, you're under no time constraint. See, look at their resistances, look at their sort of unit types. So they're beasts, they've got high dodge, high speed. These are their resistances, these are their attacks. Just think about what you're doing. Let's use bowler on these guys. Doesn't really matter at this point, the crit. Can we end it? Yes we can, there we go. So, got a bit of loot, got those busts. Open this up. As I said, managed to find all three. I can leave it there. You can, if you want, continue. If you know there's some loot around, or you've got enough health or stress. Your stress is low enough, your health's high enough, you can do a few more fights, get a bit more loot. You've got the option of doing that. Generally, unless I've got a guaranteed thing of loot, but without having to actually fight anyone, I generally just return to the hamlet. But if you want to play it a bit risky, you can. It depends on the situation. However, in this case, I'm going to return to the hamlet. So we're going to be shown now. So these are our quest rewards, got all the loot. all these loot. Got my nice hairpin, which I wanted. Got my deeds, because it was a deeds-based mission. So hopefully this has clarified everything I think you should know if you're going to want to have successful runs in Darkest Dungeon. All the preparation things you know. I think I've made, hopefully, without rambling too much, I've clarified what you need to do to get a bit more success in your missions. All the preparation you need to do, the characters you want to bring. I've got Deadly, plus 1% crit. Annoyingly it replaced, because if you have too many positive perks, they unfortunately get switched around, unless you lock them in at the sanitarium. They are going to switch out if you've got too many, so I did lose a nice one there. I lost a nice one there. That one's actually quite good anyway. And Natural Swing replaced Unholy Hate, unfortunately. Well, 5 accuracy is good, I think it applies to everything, but if you have a lot of positive perks, unfortunately it can be a negative thing, getting new positive ones, because they will replace your old ones randomly. So I've got a bit more XP, none of them leveled up, but no deaths. Stress wasn't too high. I think my Houndmaster will have to go on stress relief, but other than that, pretty successful mission. I think all the preparation we did worked out in our favour. And our guys that run stress relief are now good to go. And we didn't have any negative outcomes of those either. So, quite a long video I know, but hopefully that's clarified everything you need to know. Apologies if I went on a bit too long. If you have any more questions about the game, or just anything you're not sure about that maybe I might know about that you want me to cover, please let me know in the comments below. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks very much for watching. If you liked it, please leave a like or subscribe. It really helps out the channel. Other than that, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.